My husband, Mark, threw the envelope on the kitchen table. "Read it," he spat, "and then pack your bags." I opened the paper with trembling hands. It was a DNA paternity test. Probability of paternity, 0%. My world stopped. "This is impossible," I whispered. "I have never been with anyone else." Mark laughed, cold and cruel. "Save the tears for someone who cares, Sarah. I'm not raising another man's bastard. I want you and that kid out of my house by tonight." He kicked us out into the snow. He thought he was free. He thought he had saved his money, but he didn't know that his own father, the billionaire he was desperate to impress, was watching everything. Mark was ambitious. He married me because I looked good on his arm at corporate events, but the moment I became pregnant, I became a burden. He complained about the crying, the diapers, the expense. He wanted a trophy life, not a family. When he kicked me out, he didn't just leave me, he destroyed me. He spread rumors in our small town that I was a cheater. Friends stopped calling. My reputation was ruined. I moved into a tiny, drafty apartment on the edge of town. I worked 2 waitressing jobs just to buy formula for my son, Leo. Mark never sent a dime. He blocked my number. Meanwhile, Mark lived the high life. He bought a new sports car, went on vacations, and eventually remarried a woman named Jessica, a wealthy socialite who hated children. For 5 years, I struggled. I cried myself to sleep wondering how a test could be wrong when I knew the truth. I didn't know then that Mark had paid a lab technician $500 to swap the samples. He didn't care about the truth. He just wanted an excuse to leave without paying alimony. Then the news broke. Mark's father, Arthur Sterling, passed away. Arthur was a tycoon, a man of old money and strict principles. Mark had always been terrified of him. A week later, a process server knocked on my peeling door. "Sarah Jenkins?" he asked. "You are summoned to the reading of Arthur Sterling's will." I was confused. "Why?" "I haven't seen Arthur in 5 years. Mark made sure of that." "Attendance is mandatory for all potential heirs," the man said. I borrowed a dress from a friend. I took the bus to the Sterling estate. When I walked into the library, Mark and Jessica were already there, sipping champagne. Mark's face twisted in disgust. "What is she doing here? Security! Get this trash out!" The family lawyer, Mr. Thorne, looked up from his desk. "Sit down, Mark." She was invited. Mark scoffed. "Fine. Let her watch me inherit the empire. Maybe she can beg for some scraps." Mr. Thorne began to read. Mark was practically drooling. "To my son, Mark," Arthur's words echoed in the room. "I leave. Absolutely nothing." The room went silent. Mark stood up. "What? That's a mistake." "Sit down," Mr. Thorne barked. He continued reading. "I leave nothing because a man who abandons his own blood is no son of mine." Mark turned pale. "I didn't abandon anyone. That kid isn't mine. The DNA test proved it." Mr. Thorne pressed a button on his remote. A video screen lowered. It was Arthur, recorded just weeks before his death. "Hello, Mark," Arthur said from the screen. "You always thought you were smarter than everyone, but you forgot that I own the clinic where you did the test." Mark froze. Arthur continued. "I saw the payment you made to the technician. I saw the falsified report, so I did my own test. I took a sample from Leo's pacifier when Sarah visited me in the hospital years ago. He is 100% my grandson, and because you disowned him legally, you disowned yourself from this family. The entirety of my estate," Mr. Thorne read, "valued at $450 million, is left in a trust for my grandson, Leo Sterling. Sarah Jenkins is named sole trustee and guardian until he turns 25. Jessica, Mark's new wife, screamed, "$450 million?" She turned to Mark. "You told me you were the heir. You told me that brat wasn't yours." Mark was shaking. He looked at me, desperate. Sarah, baby, listen, it was a mistake. I was young. We can fix this. We can be a family again." I looked at the man who had let his son go hungry while he bought Ferraris. I looked at the man who had called me a cheater for 5 years. "Mark," I said softly. He stepped closer, hope in his eyes. "Yes?" You signed a legal document 5 years ago stating you are not Leo's father, I reminded him. You wanted to be free of us. Congratulations. You are. I turned to the security guards. Please remove this stranger from my son's house. Mark didn't just lose the money, he lost everything. Jessica filed for divorce the next day. Turns out she only loved the Sterling name. Since Mark had signed away his parental rights to avoid child support, he had no legal claim to see Leo. He couldn't even sue for visitation. I used the inheritance exactly how Arthur would have wanted. I bought a beautiful home with a big backyard for Leo. I started a foundation for single mothers who had been abandoned by partners like Mark. Sometimes Mark parks his old sedan outside our gate, trying to catch a glimpse of the son he threw away. But the gates are high and the security is tight. He wanted a life without burdens. Now he has exactly what he asked for, a life with absolutely nothing.